What up and welcome to the Rival Fantasy community. If this is your first episode or if you've been watching since the beginning of the season, either way, we appreciate you all the same. I'm Neil Maligno. I am hosting the Week 9 Rival Fantasy Waivers episode. I'm here to help you find the players that you need to add to win big in Week 9. I keep these episodes quick hitting, but if you want longer interactive content, subscribe to the channel, catch our weekly live episodes, including our Sunday Start Sit Advice live stream that kicks off every single Sunday morning at 11:30 EST. Now let's go ahead and get into the waivers. With Ryan Tannehill out due to injury, rookie quarterback Will Levis got his first career start, and man, did he start with a bang. Levis finished as QB6 for Week 8, throwing for 238 yards and 4 touchdowns, 3 of which were all caught by DeAndre Hopkins. It's important to note that Will wasn't just playing it safe, dinking and dunking. He was actually throwing some pretty big touchdowns down the field. Next up for Levis is a Steelers defense that has been decent against quarterbacks, but Levis will be looking to have a game like fellow rookie CJ Stroud did earlier this season against the Steelers. Levis is well worth the ad, especially for those in 2 quarterback leagues or super flex leagues. Speaking of rookie quarterbacks, Jaren Hall has found himself as a new starting quarterback of the Vikings after they lost Kirk Cousins for the season due to an injury. Hall inherits one of the NFL's best passing offenses, led by elite wide receiver Justin Jefferson, standout rookie wide receiver Jordan Addison, and the highly skilled tight end TJ Hawkinson. Vikings coaches have complimented Hall's skill set, saying that they believe in him. They applauded his maturity and his approach to the game so far this season. The Vikings also traded for veteran quarterback Joshua Dobbs, but Hall will get the first shot to try to hold him off and to continue this Vikings pursuit of the playoffs. Hall has a really high ceiling if he can continue to keep this offense rolling in Minnesota. If not, he is going to lose that job to Dobbs, who should also be added to your rosters as well. One of the most important keys to winning your fantasy leagues is being ahead of your league mates, part of which is by adding players before they are becoming an obvious pick and everyone is after them. Adding newly signed Bills running back Leonard Fournette is a perfect example of what I'm referring to. Sure, he's on the practice squad right now. Of course, James Cook is the current starter, but you don't sign a vet like Fournette to do nothing with him. Fournette is battle tested, he's a Super Bowl champion, and he's been a pretty good fantasy running back. As the season grinds forward, Cook is not getting the job done for the Bills, and a strong vet who's been there before may be exactly what the Bills are looking for in their backfield. Add him to your roster now before the rest of your league is fighting for him on waivers. I'm a really big fan of Kyren Williams, so I wasn't that confident in the running backs that the Rams were using to fill in for him when he was out with injury. Darrell Henderson, though, has had back-to-back double-digit fantasy points in PPR, one game being productive on the ground, the other one he was good through the air. I'm hoping Kyren isn't out much longer, but while he's out, Henderson has proven to be an effective weapon that the Rams know how to slide effortlessly into the offensive game plan. Henderson can be a trusted flex in your lineup until Kyren Williams returns to the offense. It at first felt really inconsistent, but it's starting to feel like Rashid Shaheed is torching DBs on a weekly basis. Rashid finished Week 8 as the wide receiver 8 on 3 targets, 153 yards, 1 touchdown. In case I wasn't clear or you missed that, he did all of that with 3 targets. Shaheed has had 3 weeks with 18 fantasy points or more in PPR, and the hope is that he can continue to raise his floor and not just have this boom-bust expectation. With the Saints typically finding themselves in high-scoring games and Shaheed becoming one of Carr's favorite downfield targets, get him on your roster and flex him when needed. Sometimes we enter the season with high hopes for a player to really become a breakout, and for some reason it just doesn't go as planned. Jahan Dotson is a player that I was crazy high on, and it couldn't have gone worse through the first 7 weeks. Then Week 8 happened, 8 receptions, 108 yards, and a touchdown, finishing as wide receiver 7 in PPR scoring. Sam Howell and the Commanders can't possibly ignore this performance, right? Honestly, Dotson's had some decent target games. He just hasn't really turned them into the touchdown-filled games that he did in his rookie season. Assuming folks quit on him after 7 underwhelming weeks, here's your chance to pick him up and hope that he stays consistent the rest of the way. How often does it happen where the top fantasy player at a position in any given week is available for you to pick up off of waivers or in free agency? Arizona Cardinals tight end Trey McBride was tight end 1 in Week 8, and he might be available in your fantasy leagues right this second. McBride may be getting Murray back sooner rather than later with the trade of QB Joshua Dobbs, so there's an upgraded quarterback coming as well. Zach Ertz is out for a few more weeks at the very least, so this is more than a 1-week pickup. McBride could be a big help to your fantasy team playoff race. Outside of the top tier guys that we talk about week in and week out, tight end can become very quickly unexciting, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Sometimes consistency, even without a ton of upside, can still be a valuable thing in fantasy football. Enter Bucks tight end Cade Otton, who has 8 points or more in 4 of his last 6 games, which again isn't earth-shattering, and if you look at his stats, they leave a lot to be desired. He's creeping towards top 20 at tight end, and if the Bucks deal with any injuries to wide receivers, his opportunities go up. I'm not saying Otton is a league winner by any means, but he has the ability to get you by if you need during a bye week or on a 1-week injury to your starting tight end. Now, we love players who just flat out play themselves into a position of fantasy football significance, but performance isn't always the reason it happens. Sometimes the newfound value comes when another player gets injured, which we hate to see, but we cannot ignore when it happens. Patriots wide receiver Kendrick Bourne is out for the season, opening the way for the Patriots to find a new favorite target, and Demario Douglas is quickly becoming that guy. He hasn't had his breakout week yet, but that just makes it perfect timing for you to add him and start him before he does. You want more fantasy football advice from Rival Fantasy Sports? Go ahead and subscribe to the channel for new content, live streams every Sunday at 11:30 EST. And if the YouTube content just isn't enough, follow us on social at Rival Fantasy on Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, every platform you could think of, we're on there at Rival Fantasy. And if you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to drop them in the comments, waiver questions, trade questions, anything you need to help you get to the fantasy playoffs and get this championship, drop them in the comments and we got you covered. Again, like this video, hit subscribe. We appreciate your support. It means the world to us, and we will catch you on the next episode.